Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. We have burglars caught on camera, cold cases, and a mysterious disappearance to talk with you about, plus a whole lot more.
That's right, and we're hoping that you might have some information that could help solve these cases, and there are many more to share this episode, so let's go ahead and get started. First up, a Niceville man's disappearance remains a mystery. After being reported missing almost a decade ago, the Niceville Police Department is still actively attempting to locate Jacob Irvin Lyon. Jacob was last seen on November 2nd of 2015 in Niceville, and his family and acquaintances have not heard from him since. At the time he went missing, Jacob was 19 years old, 5 foot 8 inches tall, weighed around 135 pounds. He has hazel eyes and brown hair. He also has a scar on the left side of his chin and has a speech impediment with R's. Jacob also had an injury to his left arm that causes him not to be able to fully extend it. So almost a decade later, those folks are looking for some closure to find out where that young man might have been. So anybody with information, you can contact the Niceville Police Department or, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously.
And next up, we really need to catch these folks. During Hurricane Helene, September 26th, the Walton County Sheriff's Office responded to a burglary in the Owl's Head subdivision of Freeport. The victim's surveillance cameras recorded 2 suspects as they sifted through the drawers in the bedroom at around 8:30 p.m. The victim came home with a young child moments later, which is scary stuff. The 2 burglars were able to escape with a safe, a large amount of cash, 2 Smith & Wesson .380 pistols, and other personal belongings. So if you know anything about this burglary or the identity of the suspects, please call the Walton County Sheriff's Office, or you can use the smartphone app and contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is still searching for clues in the 1971 shooting death. Bobby Ray Jones was shot and killed more than 53 years ago at what used to be Lone Branch Bar in Darlington. The then 31-year-old Bobby Ray Jones bartended, managed, and lived at the Lone Branch Bar in Darlington with his wife. In the early morning hours of September 30th that year, the bar was closed. Bobby Ray Jones was shot and killed after he answered the door. Now, investigators with the Walton County Sheriff's Office are still searching for information that might help solve Jones' murder. And actually, this was a case that was featured on the national podcast, The Deck. And in addition to that, the Florida Sheriff's Association here in Florida has actually started a brand new podcast, and they have featured this as one of their first cold cases. So you can visit flsheriffs.org and listen to that podcast as well.
Yeah, the focus on cold cases has really been hot recently, for lack of a better term. And we've got another one right here. 36 years ago, George Henry Jones was found murdered in his Crestview home, and the Crestview Police Department is still asking for information which might help solve this old case. Jones was dropped off at his home by a church van the evening of 9/11/88 after attending a church service. A physical altercation took place in the residence, and Jones was bludgeoned to death. So anyone with information can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And of course, if you're wondering how well Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers is helping our local law enforcement partners, here's some information that might help you figure that out. So year to date, 2024, our statistics, we've had 1,013 tips, which helped lead to 42 arrests and cleared 45 cases. And our volunteer board of directors has approved nearly $18,000 in rewards. So thank you to everybody that calls and sends in tips.
Fantastic. With Okaloosa County ranking in the top third of the state in pedestrian traffic fatalities, initiatives are underway to put the focus on safe foot and bicycle traffic.
That's right. A group known as OCHIP, the Okaloosa County Health Department's Health Improvement Partnership, has joined forces with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, the Okaloosa County School District, and others to promote pedestrian safety in a number of ways, from a news conference and student pedestrian safety poster contest to sharing public service videos.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending this year's Pedestrian Safety Month press conference. I'm Beth Smith, Administrator for the Florida Department of Health here in Okaloosa, and I'm proud to speak to you this morning about the efforts of the Okaloosa County Health Improvement Partnership, or OCHIP as we call it.
Over the last 5 years, Okaloosa County has experienced approximately 74 vehicle versus pedestrian crashes a year. That does include bicycles as well. So, while that number is kind of eclipsed by the number of actual traffic crashes we have, as you can imagine, the potential for injury or even death is much, much greater when you're talking about a vehicle versus a pedestrian. Think about ways that you can improve your driving and your habits as a pedestrian to keep other people safe and to make yourself safe, whether that be putting this down and not driving while you're distracted, or just simply stopping behind the stop bars so that oncoming traffic can see the pedestrians standing on the sidewalk and the pedestrians can see the oncoming traffic coming. Or when you're a pedestrian, walk that extra 20 yards down the road to use a pedestrian crosswalk and be patient enough to use that pedestrian crosswalk properly and wait for the light signal to allow you to cross safely. If we can just do those 4 things, we'll go a long way to reducing that number.
I've seen firsthand the devastation and tragedy that families go through when they lose a loved one in a motor vehicle crash. We know that Okaloosa County has a high tourism rate, which equates to many of our traffic fatalities involving pedestrians. So pedestrian safety is a critical topic. Chief Bage with the Fort Walton Beach Police Department and I were looking through some numbers earlier this week, and Okaloosa County, based on the last 5 years of data available, is in the top 35% of counties in Florida for traffic fatalities involving pedestrians. This doesn't adjust for population, it doesn't include serious injuries, this is just fatalities. So these numbers are more than just statistics. They represent lives lost and families forever changed. So this is definitely something that's affecting our community greatly. And the work done through Pedestrian Safety Month is vital to bring these numbers down.
And now, as always, we're going to go down our list of wanted fugitives, and we want to remind you they are wanted as of today's taping date, which is November 7th, 2024. So first up, we've got some good news, and that is Robert Michael McDonald has been located since our last show.
Still looking, however, for Robert Carlos Cruz, a 36-year-old wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation. He was last known to live in Panama City.
43-year-old Paul Austin Griner, he's wanted for felony sexual assault. He was last known to live on Landview Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you've got any information on where to find Renee Lopez. The 47-year-old is wanted for sexual battery on a victim under 12 years of age and lewd and lascivious molestation.
Timothy Tyler Turner, who was last known to live on Red Barrow Road up in Baker, he's wanted for felony sexual battery and lewd and lascivious molestation.
Clint Wayne Covey's up next. He's wanted on a felony failure to appear for 2 counts of battery on an officer or firefighter.
New fugitive this month is 29-year-old Carlos Hernandez Espinal. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation.
And this is Ann Margaret Mary Marsh, who was last known to live on Madeline's Path in Fort Walton Beach. She's wanted for failure to appear on charges of theft and elderly abuse.
61-year-old Denise Evelyn Freites is being sought for felony violation of probation for DUI, fleeing and eluding law enforcement, and possession of controlled substance, last known to live over in Pensacola.
And we have Lincoln Anthony Ricketts, who's wanted for felony failure to appear for driving with a license that's been suspended or revoked with prior convictions, as well as resisting arrest without violence and giving a false ID to law enforcement.
36-year-old Alonzo Borum is wanted for felony failure to appear for fleeing and eluding law enforcement, resisting arrest without violence, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of narcotics equipment, last known to live on Shrewsbury Road over in Mary Esther.
And Rogelio de la Cruz Rasquero, wanted for felony possession of child pornography and use of a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony. Last known address was in Crestview.
And this next one, we've been searching for premeditated murder. That's 22-year-old John William Galveo Saab. He's wanted for the murder, shooting death of a 48-year-old Fort Walton Beach man back on March 17th of 2021 in the Capri Commons Mobile Home Park. He had an address on Patio Road in Fort Walton Beach prior to the murder, but of course has left the area shortly afterwards. They actually believe this individual might be out of the country, but anybody with information, you can contact Crime Stoppers.
Yeah, and he needs to know they have not stopped looking for
No.
him. So sooner or later, we think he'll be in custody. Hope so. Ricky Jerome Sutton has been located since the last show, however.
And wrapping up our first list is Aisha Yaman Gee. She's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation, last known to live over in Pace.
And we want to say thank you to everyone who joined the OCSO's Faith and Blue weekend that was an open house here recently.
Yes, Faith and Blue is a national initiative aimed at building stronger relationships between law enforcement and faith-based organizations. This year, the OCSO welcomed the community, inviting local churches and organizations to enjoy lunch and a tour of its training facility.
out and talk with us, but keeping them at the house really isn't helping anything. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I get you some?
How you doing, sir? I'm Deputy Sheldon with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. The reason I pulled you over, you were speeding a little bit back there.
And thanks going out to Papa's Smokehouse and Coca-Cola Bottling Company United. They graciously provided lunch and refreshments for that event.
Now we're going to go right to our next list of wanted fugitives. Just a reminder, you can contact us by phone, on the web, or via the P3 Tips mobile app. First up, the Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for David Allen Simmons for felony violation of probation, last known to live on State Highway 83 in Defuniak Springs.
And Oswaldo Avelos Camacho is wanted up next. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, last known to live on Williams Court in Fort Walton Beach.
40-year-old Keon Kenneth Cooper is wanted for felony fleeing with disregard of safety to persons or property, last known to live on Dunwoody Place in Fort Walton Beach.
Next one's a bit shocking, but we do not unfortunately have a photo available. But Calvin Rawls Salmon, 80 years old, wanted for felony sexual assault. Last known address was Northwest Memorial Parkway in Fort Walton Beach.
And here's 38-year-old Casey Scott Dishman, who's wanted for felony failure to appear for resisting arrest without violence, possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell, and other narcotics charges, last known to live in Destin.
And this is Richard Kelly Harrison. Harrison's wanted for felony fraud.
Next individual is wanted for DUI and driving while license suspended or revoked. That's 72-year-old Donald Joe Mitchell.
And Bradley Scott Weinhammer is wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office. That's because of a felony violation of probation charge.
And Okaloosa deputies are searching for 54-year-old Tad Keith Bowers, who's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of child neglect.
No photo available for Jermaine Allen Hawkins, but Hawkins is wanted for felony fraud.
And we don't have a photo either of Carol L. Hardy, but she's a 66-year-old white female. She's wanted for felony exploitation of an elderly person, last known to live on Wilson Street up in Crestview.
Back to the Walton County Sheriff's Office. This is Casey Lynn Spires. Spires was wanted for felony violation of probation and was last known to live on Hemp Hill Road in Defuniak Springs.
60-year-old Clenny Terrell Davis is wanted for felony violation of probation for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon as well as grand theft, last known to live on Auburn Road in Crestview.
And the show will be able to say goodbye to Zachary Lee Dalton because Dalton has been located.
But we're still looking for 24-year-old Christian Devontae Nix for felony failure to appear for fleeing and eluding law enforcement, operating a vehicle without a license, and destroying evidence, last known to live on 4th Avenue in Shalimar.
And wrapping up this list, Jamal Darius Ferguson wanted for felony fleeing and eluding, possession of a weapon by a convicted felon, and resisting an officer. His last known address, Lakeview Drive in Crestview.
Well, first Hurricane Helene, then Hurricane Milton. A team of Osioso deputies and civilians this year went on their 4th hurricane recovery deployment in the last 2 years.
And they've earned quite the reputation. They help with missions ranging from water rescues to traffic control, and they have the resources to remain completely self-sufficient during these deployments.
Storm, although it's frightening, Lord, I just ask that you protect those that are in the path of it.
This is our 4th deployment in 2 years. We've been to several small counties, we've been to a large county, we're going to large counties again. The plan right now is kind of fluid in that the Sheriff's Association has tasked counties that look like they're going to have direct impact, and they have started adjusting personnel to go to those jurisdictions. We are currently tasked, subject to change, to go to Sarasota and Manatee County to assist with those endeavors. We go 100% self-sustained with a trailer to sleep in, another trailer to sleep in. We have the ability now to wash our clothes and produce ice. We have a bathroom trailer, so at least at the end of the day when these guys are doing whatever it is they need, that they can decontaminate, because sometimes you get in some water in which there's some things that are not so kind in there. We need to make sure we get our guys healthy and taken care of. We have sleeping accommodations. We've upgraded our generator capacity to make power.
And I know clearing roads was one of the big missions a couple weeks ago. Do you have any idea what the task might be this go around?
We fully expect that to be a small contingency, but I expect more search and rescue this time, more need to help out the general populace with traffic control and those kinds of things. It's one of those where we go plan for all kinds of capabilities, but we don't know what we're going to get when we get there. I mean, this time we're taking 2 large boats because we're going to coastal towns with coastal islands. And if bridges are gone, you got to get people there and back in large boats. So we're going with that as well.
And I've been here my whole life, and I've been through hurricanes, but when something like this is coming down on you, it is pretty stressful, because you don't think about yourself, you're thinking about all the citizens that might not be prepared, might not gotten out of harm's way, or may not have the resources that they need immediately. And you think about all the people on oxygen, think about all the people on, that have to have electricity immediately, and we hope that they all have generators and things like that. But anyway, thanks and Godspeed, and we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers that you're safe and that you guys do God's work.
So great work by them in helping all of our neighbors who are suffering from the hurricanes. Coming to our next list of fugitives now, we've got David Michael Williams at the top of this list. He's wanted for felony VOP for multiple counts of grand theft, theft from the elderly, and fraud.
No photo for Jonathan Christopher Wolf, but he's 51 years old. He's wanted for felony fleeing and eluding.
Brandon Shane Dickinson, felony possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon, burglary, larceny, as well as a violation of probation, and last known to live on Harmony Lane in Crestview.
54-year-old Angela Dawn Tripp is wanted for failure to appear for exploitation of the elderly, last known to live on Crown Creek Circle in Crestview.
And the show will be saying goodbye to Amber Rochelle Hawkins because she's been located since our last show.
We're adding a new one. Tyler Earl Noel Hazelrig is 30 years old. He's wanted for felony failure to register as a sexual offender, last known to live on 23rd Street in Niceville.
And it's great to see all these located since last show's on here. This one is Walter Vincent Elliott. He has been found.
And last on this list is Todd Wilson Inman, who's wanted for felony violation of probation for driving while license suspended or revoked, passing 10 or more forged notes, possession of a controlled substance, providing information to a pawnbroker, and finally, grand theft. He was last known to live on Henry Lane in Mossy Head.
He's got quite the list.
Yes.
Well, this next event was super cool. The Step 1 Drive-Out Breast Cancer Jeep made its way to OCSO headquarters in Shalimar, and dozens of Team OCSO members met it to get involved.
That's right. The Jeep is part of a campaign to raise awareness for how breast cancer touches everyone in our communities and to raise funds for local organizations for breast cancer prevention and treatment.
For your patience, everybody. I really appreciate it. Hi. For each signature we get on Pinky the Jeep, we donate $1 to Ascension Sacred Heart Foundation for breast cancer treatment and prevention. So you sign in gold in honor of someone who's been lost to breast cancer. You sign in silver for survivors or someone who's currently undergoing treatment for breast cancer. Black is for all other supporters. If you sign in honor of someone else, please also sign for yourself. That means $2 instead of just $1. Please only sign on the pink because if it's not pink, it's the actual card. At the end, we take the wrap, we frame what we can save, and we give it to the foundation as a reminder of this month.
Now each year, Step 1 wraps a Jeep in each market with pink and breast cancer ribbons and hits the road visiting organizations and events.
And they gather signatures on the wrap and donate $1 per signature to a local nonprofit up to $5,000. So
That's really great.
Yeah, good event for a good cause.
Now here's some more folks we want you to look at and tell us if you know where they might be hiding. First, we're going to start with 33-year-old Brandon Dalton West. He's wanted for sexual assault.
And now we have Donald Lee Chapman up next, wanted for felony VOP for leaving the scene of an accident, attempting to flee law enforcement, driving with a license suspended or revoked, and resisting an officer. Last known address, Evergreen Drive in Mary Esther.
48-year-old Tyrone Mandel Frost, who was last known to live on Nellie Drive out in Santa Rosa Beach. He's wanted for felony violation of probation for burglary.
Mayiki Jamal Boyd is wanted for felony violation of probation on charges of grand theft and dealing in stolen property. He's also wanted for non-payment of child support.
This next one's been on the show for a while. That's 32-year-old Alyssa Victoria Hibberts. She's wanted for violation of probation for child neglect as well as possession of cocaine, and she was last known to live in Pensacola.
An 82-year-old J. William Shutter is wanted for felony child neglect.
35-year-old Jose Alberto Hernandez Cruz is wanted for failure to appear for DUI as well as 2 counts of child neglect, last known to live on Airport Road in Destin.
And we've got Cameron Emmanuel Sanders, who's wanted for felony fleeing and eluding law enforcement, as well as driving with his license suspended or revoked and resisting arrest. Last known address was Lark Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And here's 50-year-old John Darwin Justford. He's wanted for felony violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia.
And Cheyenne Lee Gentry is the next fugitive on the list, wanted for VOP for possession of methamphetamine. Last known address was Oak Terrace Drive in Crestview.
Okaloosa deputies are still looking for 65-year-old James Clinton Bringley Jr. He's wanted for violation of probation for battery, last known to live in Pensacola.
And this is Gabriel Wade Manley, who's wanted for felony VOP on using a two-way communication device, that is, to facilitate a felony, as well as possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell.
30-year-old Zachary Ryan Steen, he's being sought for felony aggravated battery with a weapon. He was last known to live on Old Ferry Road in Shalimar.
And keeping up with our trend, we've got Desley McLemore, who has been located since the last show.
It's another long-timer on the show. That's 48-year-old David Allen Bobbitt, and he is wanted for fraud.
No photo available for Timothy Lee Davis, unfortunately, but he's wanted for felony use of a two-way communications device to facilitate a felony and sexual assault.
You can take a look. Here's 65-year-old Thomas Edward Allison. He's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated assault on a person 65 or older. He was last known to live out in Destin.
66-year-old Tobin Dean Collins is wanted for failure to register as a sex offender. His last known address was Yacht Club Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And even more good news this month, and that is that Daniel Robert Turner O'Rourke has been located since our last show.
No photo available for Tristan Mullins, but he's wanted for felony use of a two-way communications device, promoting the sexual performance of a child, and sexual assault. His last known address was on Deer Avenue in Niceville.
41-year-old Coretta LaDawn James. She's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft as well as fraud, last known to live on Wilson Street in Crestview.
And contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you've got any info on David Richard Abbott. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for resisting arrest without violence and possession of a controlled substance. He was last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
And here's 50-year-old Leon Leslie Chandler, wanted for violation of probation for driving while license suspended or revoked, and possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon.
And moving on, the days around Halloween are super busy for the Okaloosa County Youth Services Division, for crime prevention, for the SROs, for the community resource deputies. I mean, they are all going nonstop.
That's right, and one very special event where they join with other local first responders takes place at the Northwest Florida Fairgrounds. It's a trunk or treat, spreading cheer, and plenty of candy options for special needs children.
And they had such packed events and everywhere they went, long lines. But that one with the special needs kids is just super special.
Very busy
Really
season.
like that event. Next up on our fugitives, we're going to wrap up the list this time with Blake Elliott Gundred, wanted for VOP for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
And here's 47-year-old Timothy Ryan McDonald. He's wanted for felony violation of probation for burglary and theft, last known to live on Oxford Court in Mariester.
Tasha Nicole Harris is wanted by the Crestview Police Department. That's because of charges for felony intimidation, sending a written threat as well, and last known to live on Connor Drive in Crestview.
And we don't have a photo of Christine Chadwick, but she's a 60-year-old white female. She's wanted for cruelty to animal and resisting arrest without violence.
Aja Nathan's up next, wanted for failure to appear for vehicle theft, last known address Fort Walton Beach.
60-year-old Terry James Hennesser is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender.
And Virginia Lee Coles, 68 years old, wanted for felony battery on a person 65 years or older. She was last known to live on Edgewater Drive in Crestview.
65-year-old Felipe Carrera Gonzalez Sr., he was last known to live on Earl Street in Fort Walton Beach. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for battery as well as non-payment of child support.
Timothy Howard's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, and failure to appear on a fraud charge. His last known address was at Bearhead Road in Defuniak Springs.
Here's another one we don't have a photo of, but that's James Lee Burnett. He's 71. He's wanted for felony failure to appear for aggravated battery, last known to live on Hollywood Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach.
And not giving up on George Emmerich II. He's been on this list for a while, but he is wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation on charges of domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
Speaking of not giving up, this is one that's been on the show for, I believe, years, and we're not going to give up finding him. That's 41-year-old Alexis Wilmer Mondragon. He's being sought for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation, last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Daniel Lewis Davis is wanted for VOP for burglary. He was last known to live in Crestview.
43-year-old Roderick James Rudderson Jr. is wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school, as well as failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked.
Samuel Thomas III was last known to live in Shalimar. He's 36 years old, and he's wanted for VOP on original charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft.
And here's 36-year-old Kristen Marie Chandler, who's wanted for failure to appear for fleeing and eluding law enforcement.
45-year-old James Anthony Williams is wanted by Walton County Sheriff's Office for VOP on possession of a controlled substance charge, as well as possession of marijuana and of drug paraphernalia.
55-year-old Tony Wayne Polland is wanted for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, and theft.
And finally on this list, number 91 on the list of fugitives, that's quite a few fugitives this month, Cole Rutland Graninger, wanted for VOP for aggravated stalking and burglary. And that's going to do it for this edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you've got any information on any of these cases, and we'll see you next time.